So recently Saie Beauty had a really great deal for Black Friday on their website, and I haven't tried anything from them, and I thought this would be a good time to try to get like a full face, do a full face video, try out their products and tell you guys what I think. I did post on the community tab about the sale. If you guys are kind of wanting to get in on the sale when I get in on sales, anytime I buy anything or I find a like super good sale, I will create a link for you and put it in the community tab so you can also shop it. By the way though, those links are affiliate links, which the brands don't know who I am, but they're just monetized links that I've created through like a third party. And I do get a little bit of commission off of those. And that commission just kind of helps me to support the channel. So if you don't want to use the link, that's fine too. You can just go directly to the website, but just letting you know that I will be putting things on the community tab when I do find a really good sale that I am planning on participating in. So with that being said, I actually just filmed this entire video and my SD card that I was using was like running out of minutes, so that I was like frantically doing stuff and it wasn't that great. And then also my husband was downstairs in the basement right below my office, and it seemed like he was like clearing his throat into the vents and I couldn't just take it, so I stopped. So we're gonna try again. And I don't know why, but I did put everything back in the boxes. I've used it. I don't know why I did that, but I did stick everything back in the boxes, and we'll just kind of go through as we apply things on the face and kind of talk about them. And now I don't really need to wait until the end of the video like I had planned on doing before to talk about the products, because I already know a little bit about them. I did try them on. That could also be why my face is looking a little bit red right now, because I immediately went and washed it off so I could do this again. And my neck is red a little bit here and a little bit here, because I had Army over the weekend and we have like really stiff collars that just kind of like rub my neck, and I always get like a super red neck after a weekend away at Army. So with all of that stuff out of the way, we're gonna go ahead and try some of these products. So the first thing that I wanna mention is the fact that they did put these cotton balls in the package to kind of help pad the package as it was being shipped. And I like that instead of using a ton of packing materials, just because you can actually use them. So I really did kind of like that. But let's just go ahead and get into it. So I did buy their slip tint. I think that they have a sort of glowy sort of primer, but I have a lot of those sorts of glowy primers, so I didn't get it. But judging by how much I like these products, maybe if I go through some of my glowy primers that I have, I might purchase theirs. So I did get the slip tint in shade 2, and I feel like the name is very sort of fitting, because it does feel like it just glides right over the skin. And their shade range on this wasn't particularly like grand, but once I put it on my face, you can kind of see why. Like, it's very sheer, and I'm just going to use my hands to work this first pump in. And probably if I do a second pump, I'll use my hands for that too. But this really does just glide over the face, and it's so moisturizing. This does have SPF 35 in it. I'm like trying to look up my nose to make sure I don't have any bats in the cave, because anyway, I don't know how to edit that out. So then I'm gonna get a little bit here and then apply it on my forehead too. This is something that I think I'm going to keep out and use this winter, because it's SPF, it's so moisturizing, and it does give a little bit of a tint, but not too much. And we're about to that time of year. If you follow me on Instagram, you will have seen last year, I post stories about it almost every day. This time of year when it gets cold, I have to force myself to get outside. So I force myself to go outside on walks when it's like freezing out. And this is just like the perfect thing to put on my face before like walking in that super dry, like blistering cold. Look how shiny my skin is. It looks and feels so good in my opinion. So then we're gonna do concealer. And I kind of made a little mistake here. I got the wrong shade. So I thought I got shade 2, same as the slip tint, but I accidentally got shade 3, and as you can tell, it's way, way too dark for me. So I am gonna jump in, and I'm gonna combine this with the lightest concealer I own from Hourglass. That's too light for me right now. And I'm just gonna put some on the back of my hand of each until I kind of get a good shade, you know, that matches my skin. And we're gonna go around like the nose, the eyes, any red areas here. I'm not putting anything on my neck, so we're just gonna have to look at my super blotchy neck. But this should be good. I think that's about half and half there. And I'm gonna blend it and see, yes, that looks pretty good. So the Hourglass one that I'm using, by the way, it's in shade Birch, which I believe is their lightest shade. But it seems to have a very sort of light olive undertone, which is perfect for mixing in with other sorts of products if they tend to be a little bit deep. And so the slip tint does not have a ton of coverage. I actually need to get in this and like apply it with my fingers right here around the eyes. It doesn't have a ton of coverage, but, and I don't even know if their concealer does, because honestly, I'm mixing it with the Hourglass. I did kind of swatch the concealer on the back of my hand on its own, like when I was first kind of getting it and testing it. And it is kind of like one of those moisturizing sorts of like serum-y, like glidey concealers. If I had to compare it to the texture of anything, it reminds me of the NYX, is it called Bear With Me concealer or something like that? I don't know, like the serum concealer. It reminded me a lot of that, which I really like that one. I'm gonna go in with this and then just kind of blend that throughout my face. Maybe put some on my nose. This is all like kind of so moisturized looking that I also feel like you don't need full coverage anyway, just because I think it just looks like skin. It looks nice. I am going to actually put a little bit more of that slip tint though on this to kind of help the concealer kind of blend out. I sometimes do that if I find that something's not blending that well, and I think it's because of the Hourglass that I mixed in with it. I think that's a pretty full coverage sort of concealer. And I do like have some spots and stuff here, but I'm not gonna worry about them. Okay, and then what I did earlier, when I tried to film this earlier, I did go in with a couple of dots like that of the Hourglass. And then I went in with a couple of dots of the Saie. And then kind of blended around my eyes with my fingers. So we're gonna do that again, just because I feel like I'm still looking a little blue in that area. Okay, so I'm gonna go in now with the Saie Sun Melt, and I like it. I have a ton of other products like it. I just did a bronzer video where I talked about the different types of bronzers I like for really light skin in the winter, just to kind of give you a little bit of life. And had I known about this one and tried it before, it would have made it into that video. It's a very nice sort of creamy bronzer that still has like a translucent base, so there's no coverage in it. And then also though, it really does do what it says. It just melts right in to the skin. They do have other shades of it. I got the shade Light Bronze. So I'm gonna go in with this brush right here. It's like a little Sephora one that I got a long time ago with like a birthday gift. And I'm gonna just start putting this just around my face, like on my cheeks, forehead, all of that, just to warm up my skin. And this is lovely. If you were between some cream bronzers, there's a ton I still haven't tried. But if you were like, say, between this one and the NARS cream concealer, I would choose this over, not concealer, bronzer, the NARS cream bronzer. I like this over the NARS. I also like this more than the Chanel and the Rose Inc. I like it more than the Chanel one because the Chanel one, it actually, which I can't tell you long term, the Chanel one, they changed their formula and mine's starting to like thicken up a little bit. And it's not that old, whereas in the older formula that I had before, I kept it for like 6 years and it was still creamy. So, which you shouldn't keep things for 6 years, but there's definitely a difference in formula that way. Oh, I just really like this. I think it adds life to the skin without like being overly bronzed or even like being super noticeable that I've put bronzer on my skin. Okay, and then I did get two blushes. They had like a little duo where you get a discount if you get 2 blushes and they let you choose the shades. I chose Rosy and Poppy, and then I also had Chili, kind of like one that I wanted, and I'll tell you now that I actually really like these blushes, so now I want to go back and get Chili. But the first one I like to start with, like I do this all the time, just the first one I started with last time I did this was Rosy. And I put this one all over. These are very pigmented. I do find that between the 2 blushes I got that the formula is slightly different between the 2, and I'll show you when I show you the other blush. And I'm just going to use this to kind of move it around. Like, it's so pretty. I like it. Like it's so glossy and pretty. Like, you wouldn't even need a highlighter with this. And then this blush. So this blush is Poppy. And you can kind of even see around the cap that there's like a bright neon pink like stain in it. And this is from when I swatched it earlier and tried to wipe it off. It stained my hand. The other one doesn't stain. So kind of be a little bit more careful with this one. And I'm just going to put like a little, like 1 dot on my cheek. Kind of as just a pop on the cheek. And I'm just going to kind of work that in. Oh my gosh, I love this. It's like a super bright neon coral. Oh, I left this one on too long. You can kind of see like the little dot of stain. So yeah, maybe just do one side at a time. It's fine. All right, so let's go into the highlighter. So one thing I want to kind of point out, because they're more of a sustainable type brand, that their packaging is very minimal. But for whatever reason, this collaboration that they have with Reformation, the highlighter's in the same size packaging as this. And then they have this, which is all recyclable, so it's not a big deal. But then it pops out like this. And it does say on here, sustainable, looks good on you. Yeah, it's all recyclable, it's fine, but I just wanted to point that out. But this is the shade Ref Rose, which I guess is Reformation Rose. And it seems like a grayed dusky rose, and it's a little bit deep for my skin tone to use as like a highlighter. So I actually put it on over the blushes. Here it is like blended out. I put it on over the blushes as a blush topper. And we'll just kind of put some there. It's super glossy. I feel like I picked it back up. Hold on. Okay, so it's super glossy though. And I'm just gonna go over with the same brush and then just kind of work it into the cheek. Like, my face is so glossy. I think that they do have a powder. I just didn't buy a powder from them. So we will powder here in a second, because there are some areas that I feel like I do need powdered. But this cheek, I'm just really loving it. I did not get an eyeshadow from them. And earlier when I did this look, I keep referring to earlier when I did it, but when I did it earlier, I did not use a sort of eyeshadow at all. But I thought it might be fun to maybe put a little something on. Okay, so I'm just gonna go in with this MAC Paint Pot and Groundwork. This is an old one that I just kind of tried to zhuzh up. I did recently pick up a new one during MAC's Black Friday sale, because it's my favorite paint pot that they currently have. They used to have one called Indian Wood, and that was my absolute favorite, but then they discontinued it. And I'm still a little bit bitter about that. So I'm just gonna go in with this kind of fluffy brush and just try to pick up a little bit and go in lightly. And I think that's just enough to get a little something on my eyes. And then I want to curl my lashes and put on some of their mascara. So you can see that the brush actually is kind of the opposite of what I was recently complaining about in my Victoria Beckham video about that mascara, because this one has longer, kind of more structured bristles, with a thin formula that actually does push through the lashes. So I'm going to zoom you in so you can kind of see me apply it. Okay. And I really think it coats the lashes really nicely and separates them without it looking like too much mascara. I really like this. If I had to compare this to anything, the formula is pretty thin, but the brush reminds me a lot of the Benefit They're Real mascara brush, if you are familiar with that one, where it kind of has the spike also at the end, which I'll clean this off and kind of show you. Has the spikies at the end to where you can kind of go through and adjust your lashes, like just with the tip, and you're still combing through them. I just love this mascara. I don't know why I'm still applying more. I was happy with what it looked like. So I stopped really quickly to fill in my brows because I felt like something was off with my face, and it was my brows. And we're gonna try out the lip product now. And I can already tell you that I love it. This is like the perfect combination of everything for me. This is actually in the shade Novu. I don't know. It's in that shade. And it looks super deep, which it kind of is, but it's like the perfect shade. Oh my gosh. And then you kind of just blur it a little bit. Anything that says like blurred lip, blotted lip, it's like, that's like right up my alley. I love this lip. I feel like I don't need a lip liner with it. The formula isn't so opaque that like you have to have a lip liner, but it's not so thin to where it doesn't give color. It reminds me a lot of the Glossier Generation G's, and I really love those, but those feel a little bit thicker on the lips, almost like they are like kind of waxy, and there's kind of more drag when you're putting them on, and this goes on and like blends out a lot easier. I definitely want to try more in this formula, and this is definitely going to go in my purse. I think it's perfect. I love it. So I kind of talked about each product as I was putting it on my face, but I'll just kind of go over and just tell you, well, I feel like you know that I like everything. Like I don't need to tell you like what I like, what I don't like. I like everything. My favorite product is probably the lip product. I love the mascara because it's like a beautiful everyday lash. I love the blushes. I love this just skin overall because it's just like glossy, healthy skin. I do know that like there may be times when I want to put a little bit of powder, and I'll probably just use my Laura Mercier in like particular areas on my face, but I'm definitely going to want to keep the cheeks glossy like that. Like look, they're so pretty. Okay. So anyway, that is all for this. I am so glad that I tried this brand out. Let me know if you've tried anything by Saie, what you think, especially if you've tried the concealer, because I can't really get a super good gauge on the concealer since I had to mix it with something else. So if you have tried the concealer, let me know about that. And like I mentioned, if you are curious about any kinds of deals when they come up and I am shopping them, if they're a really good deal, I usually try to put them on the community tab. I don't want you guys to feel like I'm trying to sell you something, but if I'm gonna be participating in it and trying something out, I do wanna let you guys know about it. So be sure to subscribe so that you kind of see those pop up. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will talk to you in the next one. Bye.